proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears. Let's talk rallying. So I'd like to welcome along Adam Hall. Adam from Rally Insight. Adam, you're very welcome along.
Thanks, Kevin. It's always good to talk rallying.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe we're on to episode 10 of this roller coaster.
I know. The year's flying by.
That's for sure. That is for sure. In this episode, we catch up with Andy Walsh as he climbed Kirkpatrick at the weekend. We also look back at Birr Stages at the weekend also, and then we'll do a quick preview on the Carrick-on-Shire Forestry. So without further ado, we'll go over and get Andy's views. And then first of all, I started off by asking him, what made him decide to want to climb Kirkpatrick on Saturday?
I suppose the thought process behind that, to give you a kind of background, I'm going to take you back about 2 years to a world pre-COVID, if we can imagine that. I suppose it was a time when people refer to Corona as something you got in a bottle and you put a slice of lime in it. At the start of 2020, Killy and I were getting ready for another season of Facebook Live, and run up to that, the first event, it was Galway, and the run up to that, I was starting to have a couple of weird things happen to my body, where I suppose things like my left eye, it just started to close kind of randomly by itself, and a bit of a twitch, and I had a weird kind of numbing sensation down the left side of my face. It's kind of like when you went to the dentist and you got an anesthetic. I had a few other things as well, like my right leg. It had been at me, you know, that expression at me. But I kind of put it down to having hurt my back before that. But I suppose I went up to Galway. Galway I found tricky because I was having trouble walking, and after Galway did as well, and went up to Mayo. When I was driving, things like I was getting my braking sensation. When I was braking in the car, I was getting my brake sensation a bit kind of wrong, and I felt that I was over braking. And I found that kind of weird, but I put it down to having a bad back and a trapped nerve or something, and it was affecting my leg. I suppose then when it really jumped at me was at Mayo Stages. If people remember, we had drivers briefing in the TF in Castlebar, and when you leave the TF, there's a kind of an incline up the road. And I was walking up there, I was finding it really hard to actually lift my leg, to lift my right foot. It was almost dragging along the ground. And I suppose I found Mayo Stages that year a really tough event on me, kind of body-wise. Like I was really kind of struggling. And after Mayo, of course, attention turned to Cork, and we were getting ready to go to West Cork. But I made a decision to ring an osteopath just during the week so I could get an appointment to kind of work on me to sort out my back for the trip to Cork.
Mm-hmm.
And to cut long story short, I got an appointment with the osteopath on the Wednesday before Cork. And I went in, and she asked me a few questions, and she kind of worked, you know, she didn't work on me. She done a few kind of exercises and a bit of pressing and pushing and stuff. And she said then that she was actually reluctant to work on me because I had no pain. And I was kind of like, well, what do we do now? Of course, I was fixed on, I had a long trip to Cork and I wanted to work. But she recommended I go for an MRI. So I left there and I came out of the car, and of course I rang my wife because that's what you do. And I was giving out about the osteopath that she didn't work on me, and I have this long trip to Cork. So I said, listen, she recommends that I get an MRI. So I chatted to my wife anyway, and she said that because of health insurance that I should ring the Galway Clinic. So I rang Galway Clinic, and I was told to come up next day, which was Thursday, the 12th of March, that famous Thursday I'll get to in a few minutes. Mm-hmm. So I went up next day to Galway Clinic. I went in, I had an MRI, and I was called in afterwards, and a doctor basically to me, after talk, Mr. Walsh, something has showed up in your scan. I'm like, how do you mean something showed up in your scan? So he basically said, we need to admit you because we have to do more tests. Of course, I'm kind of freaking out here a little bit. There's one side of me going, I got to go to Cork in 2 or 3 days' time. How do you mean I need to go to hospital? So I'm out in the waiting room, and basically I'm just waiting for a bed. And I remember looking up at television, and Leo comes on television, and he addresses the nation. I suppose it's that kind of that famous line. We need to. It was live from Washington, and it was good morning. I need to speak to you about coronavirus and COVID. I suppose that was kind of all I remember, because the rest could have tuned out because I was there kind of waiting for a bed, being admitted to the hospital and stuff. But to cut long story short, they called me in, and they said I'm having another MRI, and that I'm having another scan that evening on my brain, that the one this morning had showed up lesions on my spine, and asked me was I familiar with multiple sclerosis. And I was like, no, like I basically knew I knew nothing about it. So look, to cut long story short, I was in hospital. They put me on a course of IV steroids. I was in there a week. I suppose that evening, as Leo had shut down the country, I was worried about West Cork. That was taken off the agenda. I was in the hospital next 2 days. I had lumbar puncture. I had a few more tests. I had loads of stuff. I came home from hospital the day after Paddy's Day, and I came home to a world that was very, very different to the world that that was there before I went into hospital. Yes. Both outside and both inside, because everyone was in lockdown, and I came home with a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, what's this going to mean to me? Like, how's my life going to change? And over the next few weeks, things kind of went fairly bad. Like, I was having a lot of problems. Like, I had a lot of sensations. Like, when I was in bed at night, like, the feeling when a fly crawls on your skin. Well, imagine multiplying that by about 100, and that was across my chest, and I wasn't able to sleep because I was having these mad sensations, all these kind of tingly kind of, stuff. I remember burning my mouth when I was eating food because I couldn't tell if it was hot or cold. I couldn't laugh afterwards, and my mouth would kind of blister. I'm like, Jesus, it was just the weirdest thing. But yeah, I suppose it got really bad then a few weeks later that I went to get out of bed one morning, and my right leg, it was like, if you have a dead leg or if your leg's asleep. Well, I went to get out of bed and I fell because I couldn't stand up, basically. I had no power down the whole right side of my body. So that was a bit mad, because suddenly I was like, this, what's going on here? Like, so, but the whole COVID thing, I couldn't go and see the doctor, or couldn't go and see my consultant. So I remember having a phone call. I would go with my consultant, and it turned to, he was basically, like, he was talking about wheelchair use and stuff, and how's my house kitted out for, have a ramp to the door and shower downstairs. And I'm there kind of going like, I'm not ready for this, like. But yeah, look, over the next few weeks, then, I'll condense the whole lot down. Over the next few weeks, I was in a mess. I was in a room. I was looking on Google for people that had MS, and trying to find a good story, and trying to find positive stuff, but I couldn't find positive. It was all very negative stuff, like, and that was kind of surreal. It was weird, like, and so I was in a situation there where I couldn't even move around the house fully, like, I suppose luckily what kind of made things a little bit easier, I suppose, if you can say make things easier, is that everyone was on lockdown, and there was no rallies, there was no work, everything was closed down, like everything was stopped. So I went through a situation where, I was looking for information, couldn't get information. I remember listening to loads of podcasts, doing loads of reading and stuff, and I remember things like they were saying to try and improve, if you're physically, try to improve your fitness. It was good for people who had MS, and I'm there like I couldn't even walk fully, like, I remember what was kind of like a turning point for me. I bought a turbo trainer from my bike because I couldn't cycle, but I needed to do something. So I remember there was nothing going on, so I was up on my bike and I was trying to cycle, and if you ever, I actually fell off a bike on a turbo trainer, like, you know, kind of how mad is that? Like a stationary bike, and I wasn't able to get up on it at the start. But yeah, over time, then I tried to work on my strengths. I got a row machine. I was just kind of doing stuff that I wasn't able to walk, so I was trying to improve my fitness in other ways and stuff, like, you know. Over the next while, as I said, I couldn't go anywhere, couldn't see a consultant. But I tried to change things like my diet, my exercise, my positive mental attitude or stuff, like, you know. Look, I fast forward again because I could talk for a long while on it. But I suppose what really changed me was I actually started treatment then for multiple sclerosis. It was in September, so I'm gone forward a good few months. So I started in I actually started infusions of a drug called Tysabri in September 2020, and yeah, I had improved a little bit before that. Like I had got my walk back, but I wasn't great. Like I was by no means able to get around the place or do stuff. I gone back driving around town to see if I could actually drive and stuff, like, you know. But once I got back on that drug, once I got on that the infusions of Tysabri, which I have every 4 weeks, that basically changed. That kind of changed my life. So I suppose to get back to your question about Charlie, I'd always been a fan of Charlie, and I seen what he set out to achieve, and I was thinking I want to do something kind of like that. As in, Crowpatrick is actually it's less than an hour from my house, and I wanted to climb with Charlie to support him and to set myself a challenge to see where I had come in 2 years. And of course, you know, I had a lot of people in my mind. They heard Charlie, but with the whole motor neuron, different people in my mind, like, of course, Rory Gallagher, we all know from the rally, and I had a good friend, Colin Brewer, who had actually moved to the area a couple of years before that to enjoy his retirement. Now, Colin Brewer is a name. It's an amazing name. He's an amazing rallying career back in the 70s and 80s, and he actually came to Banrobe to actually retire. He was in his 70s. And I just got to know him totally random. I actually met him one day. Basically, his partner's daughter had a nursing home just across from where I worked. And I actually met him one day outside, and I was chatting to him. But it turns out he as I said, he had an amazing rally career back in the 70s and 80s. And I remember one of the stories that he told me was about how he introduced a young lad to motorsport that he brought navigating. And the only reason he brought him navigating is because he had to have 2 people in the car with him. But this young lad turned out to be Dave Richards of Pro Drive fame. Like, so anyway, that's just one story. If you actually Google Conor Brewer, his right name was actually Mad Jan Brewer. So there's a whole story. By the way, Colin, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and he actually succumbed to it in 2012, at the same year as Rory.
Yes.
So yeah, that was kind of the reason. It's a long answer to the question, but that was the reason why I got involved with the Climb with Charlie.
Yeah, and like, you know, as I said, it captured the public's imagination in a way we've never seen before. Like, so, you know, what was had you ever climbed Crowpatrick and, you know, previous to this, or what was your expectations, you know, on that Saturday morning?
I suppose my expectations, first of all, you know, when I said that I wanted to climb with Charlie, I wanted to raise awareness about my own mountain to climb with MS, and, you know, I suppose with that, then I set up an I Donate page, and I said it was more to kind of create awareness, because I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be the person I was looking for 2 years ago, that someone could come across online, or people know me from the Facebook Live.
Yes.
I want to be that person someone would say, God, Andy Walsh, he's got MS, and he seems to be doing okay because he's mountain biking, or he's rallying, and he's doing this and doing that. I wanted to be that person that I wanted to see 2 years ago. So I suppose, like what Charlie's doing, I wanted to raise awareness. And I suppose, like, little as I know, that what I achieved last Saturday, not only mentally and physically, but I suppose financially, like I said, I had set out to raise awareness and maybe collect a few bob. And what I've achieved to date, like I was looking this morning, I just passed over €14,000 in what I've collected. Like, I'm blown away by that, and I'm so thankful to everyone who has contributed. But I suppose now I know the difference that's going to make to people. You know, like I know from reading stuff on MSR and from talking to people there, I know things like, you know, €2,000, it could provide 35 hours of counselling for people who are newly diagnosed, or like €3,000 could provide a 10-week physiotherapy course for about 56 people living with MS, and it'll help them to actually maintain their ability, or even to remain independent. Like, and it's just, it's a mad thing. Like, and I have a lump in my throat when I think about what I have achieved, and then I see what Charlie has achieved. Like, he's, you know, collected over 2 million. One man has brought the country together in a way that's just
it's unheard of, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, it's just
it is unheard of. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know you asked me there, had I climbed Croagh Patrick before? As I said, I live less than an hour away from Croagh Patrick.
Yes.
And you're going to laugh at this. I climbed Croagh Patrick about, I'd say, 20, 25 years ago. And, you know, I had actually said to my wife there a couple of weeks ago, I said, I better take this climb kind of serious now. And I wouldn't mind, you know, being a typical rally man, I better have a recce off it and kind of see how I'm fixed. You know? So what I done is, the only day that I could between work and everything was busy. So the day after Paddy's Day, that bank holiday that we were given, I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to go and have a cut of Croagh Patrick to see, you know, is it still, you know, it's just a mountain. But yeah, you have to give it a bit of respect, like, you know. So, and I suppose, you know, to be serious for a second, I didn't want to show up last Saturday and realize, because there were some things, you know, I'm not as fit. I'm not able to do stuff in ways I used to be able to do stuff. You know, I do things differently. But I didn't want to show up last Saturday and start climbing and realize, I'm kind of bother here. Like, there'd be enough going on. So I wanted to go down. I'm only less than an hour away. So I went down on that Friday and I started climbing. And I was bidden to climb, and suddenly I was really struggling with my leg, and my body just wasn't playing ball. Like, it's gonna have days like that. And I was there, and I was like, I was climbing a while, and suddenly I said, I can't do this. Like, my leg was giving me trouble. I was struggling with the actual incline, and I said, I'm really, really, really struggling here. I remember looking down at my watch, and I was only half an hour in. I was like, what am I going to do? Jesus. This is really, really tough. Like, and I was really questioning myself, can I do this? And I was like, I have to do this because I'm collecting money and I got to do it. Like, but can I do it? Like, so I had a long moment, and I remember I was leaning back against a rock. I went like, I have to do it. Like, you know. So I pair of headphones on me, and I changed music in the headphone, and I've told this to a few people, and everyone laughs at this. I put on AC/DC, and I took down, and I put one foot in front of the other. And that's been a thing in the last 2 years of me. Some things I just have to do it. You got to get on. So I put one foot in front of the other, and I just started to climb, started to walk. And after a while, I got to halfway, and halfway in Croagh Patrick, things kind of level out for a while. And I was on the level part, and I looked behind me. I was like, Jesus, that's pretty impressive. Then I looked up at the cone at the top part. I was like, maybe I have enough to know today, because bear in mind, this is the day before West Cork. Yes. So I need to kind of save the body. So then I remember thinking, I've come this far, and I'm, you know, it's been tough, and I mightn't do it again. So at least if I climb it today, I can say that I've climbed it.
Yes.
So I put down the head and I kept on going. And I suppose I'm stubborn at times at that. And I got to the top, and it was unreal, like, you know. And then I got down again, and it was tough coming down. I said, you know, it's a tough mountain, like. But I got down. I remember sitting in the boot of my car for about half an hour, looking up at what I'd done, and I went, okay, I done it. I can do it the next day, you know. And that's what it was. I suppose I showed up I showed up last Saturday, and I said I was going to go early. Because again, I don't know how long that it was going to take me. You know, I had a whole day to do it, and I set off. And actually, I tell you a funny one is I had headphones on me again. But your show last week, the East African Classic Safari, that's what I was going to climb to. That's what I was going to keep just to occupy
Keep
the
you
mind.
occupied.
Yeah, keep on because I really love the podcasts, and so they're really, really good. But I remember getting to the area where I had trouble the week previous, like almost like again rally man, I kind of got out of the mark, like I could see it in a distance. And Kevin, I passed that place like Josh Moffat and Birr last year on the limiter, man. I just flew past it, and I got to the top, right? But I tell you, it was last Saturday was the most surreal day emotionally, as I said, emotionally, physically, mentally. And I got to the top then, and I was coming down, and I met Charlie Bird coming up, and the crew was with him, and you've seen the videos.
Yes,
you've seen the videos in the rounds, and the video of the Clue Bay band playing on top of Patrick. And if you don't shed a tear to that,
there's something wrong with you. There is, yeah. And like,
that's a long answer to the question there. Yeah.
And we know how proud of a Mayo man you are. Like, how did that make you feel seeing those images beamed across the world? The scenery, the reception, the emotion. It was just something to behold.
Yeah, it was. It was, again, as I said, it was such an emotional day. But I suppose it wasn't just Mayo. Like, yes, it was great to see Mayo and Patrick, but all the people involved, and all the people had climbs all over the world. Like, there was climbs in the US and Australia, South Africa, Spain, all over Ireland. Like, what Charlie done and how he organised, and everyone that came out to volunteer. And on a day in the hill, remember, there was the Defence Forces, the Guards, the Mountain Rescue, the Order Malta, and an army of volunteers. And I'm sure it was the same on every climb, like the people that volunteered. Yes, I was proud of Mayo, but I was proud of Ireland.
Yeah.
And I was proud of everything all over the world that kind of got together for this. Again, as I said, like one man from a couple of minutes, from saying something for a few minutes when he was on the late show talking to Ryan Tuberty, and he brought everyone together. It was just amazing. Like.
I was listening to Ryan Tuberty this morning on the radio, and he says when he was climbing it, he spoke to, he would guarantee that he spoke to somebody. No, he didn't. But he says that he spoke to at least one person from every county in Ireland on his way up or his way down. So that just shows that the number of people there and the spread of people that was there. It's amazing, isn't it? Really, So yeah,
I was coming down, and obviously, me, because I'm now the glass half full guy. Like, I was telling people, like, oh yeah, they were halfway or whatever, and you could see people struggling, like, and I was telling me only a little while more, and they were looking at me like, I was like, just a little bit more. That's the hard part, John. Like, some of them thought I was mad, like, but others, it was just what they needed to hear. But seeing the array, even you obviously like the football jerseys and stuff like, and I was taking note of people that's passing down, and from all over the world actually. But,
yes,
it was amazing.
Yeah, and like you touched there, and the people that helped you do it and all that, and the amount of money you raised. Like, was this something you done on your own, or was there a team effort behind it? Was there anybody you think for making it all happen? Who do I thank? I want to thank everyone that actually contributed, because I've had amazing support from people I know through rallying, to people in in my area, like to people I went to school with. I'm getting donations from people that, like, okay, I originally started off it because it's all about Ukraine at the moment, and a lot of people collecting money for Ukraine and stuff, and I didn't kind of set out to go asking for big money. I put up a thing online, if you give me the price of a sandwich and a cup of coffee, I'd be happy with that. It was to create the awareness. But to say I'm blown away with what I've achieved, I have no words. Like, it's just, and I want to thank every single person that contributed. And like, even last weekend in Birr, like, as you said there on Facebook, there's people thank me. Those people give me money, and
it's really emotional, like
Mhm.
to think that, you know, it just is like, you know,
Yeah.
I just want to thank every single person that
Because even the
that. I
drivers
know
rolling
the
up to the
messages.
end of the stages yesterday, the amount of them that says, "Jesus, I seen you yesterday," you know, fantastic, you know,
Yeah,
and like, that's all. As well as giving you money, it's raised awareness, like, you know,
and
way beyond what you
that's
ever hope to do as well. You know, like as you
yeah,
say,
that
somebody
yeah,
will Google MS, how am I going to cope with this? And your story will pop up, and they'll go, Jesus, this is possible to live with this.
yeah, like, you know, I just want to let people know that, and not just MS, like, you know, people are diagnosed with lots of different things, and I just want to know, just kind of meet them with a glass half full. You know, yeah, it takes a lot to get used to, and my life has changed a lot. Like, you know, and
Mhm.
so there are certain things that I can't do anymore, and other things, I suppose, it's just me because I can't do them. I find a different way to do them, and I still try to do, you know. But yeah, just have a look at what I do. Like people see me now every second weekend almost, and you know, you see me on Instagram. I'm gone mountain biking, or I'm always at something. I try to be active, and you know, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to just let people know that it's because, as I said, I used to meet people. I was meeting people locally here because of the whole waiting inside our 5K, I suppose, when I was diagnosed, and uh, my knowledge of people having it was very, very limited. But I meet people and saying, "Oh yeah, my second cousin's wife or whatever has it," and you know, they give up work and now they're doing okay now, but you know, and I was there like, I've got mortgage to pay, I've got bills to pay, like I can't be giving up work. And there was, you know, people telling me maybe my job didn't really suit me, you know, I should think about taking it easy. I'm like, you know, I didn't want to hear that, like, you know, and that was really tough, like being
Yeah.
told this, and you know, going home then sitting in the room that the walls were getting smaller. Like at the start, the walls were getting very small in that room, and
Mhm.
it was quite a dark place, like.
For sure, for sure. But I think, what I've taken away from what you after talking about is everything can be done one step at a time. Put one foot in front of the other. So that's the thing I think we need to take away from this. There's obviously there's things that's not going to be possible, but there's other things that are possible. So,
I suppose I'll ask you one thing: how would you eat an elephant?
yes, one bite at a time. Yeah,
One bite at a time.
yeah. Uh-huh. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, we'll get back to the weekend job now, I suppose. Like Mayo 2017 was the first time yourself and Killian started Facebook Live at, stage ends. What was the
Yeah.
inspiration behind this?
Yeah. Mayo 17, and it's hard to beat us a couple of years ago. But yeah, what was the inspiration behind it? I suppose it came from a few different things happening. You know, I had a few very enjoyable years as PRO for Mayo Just More Sport Club, and but there was a few members in the club that kind of decided that they wanted the club to go down a different route with how to promote the members. So I was more or less asked to step down, and I got to know Killian when I was PRO because he was competing in the Middle East and in WRC2 and the whole lot. So basically, we actually had a chat one day, and we're on about what he had done with Ultimate Rally News, and it's actually 10 years ago now. I think it was 2012 when he started that, and we're on about what he had done and what he had achieved with that. And I was talking about, like, I had dabbled with a little bit of Periscope. If people remember Periscope, it was an app associated with Twitter. It was a live streaming app. And remember, I actually done that for I was doing a bit of that in our audit process, and I actually done the last stage in Mayo 2016, I think. It's actually a video that's floating around somewhere, but where I basically, like what I'm doing now, I tried that. And that was what I was meant. What they was like, why is this less stopping us? Like, what are you asking? I remember, like the Gary Jones up, and it's kind of like, what's wrong? And like Niall Maguire, Niall actually he actually damaged the car, and I stopped him to after control, and he's kind of like, get out of my way type thing. And I have it on video somewhere. But yeah. So anyway, I suppose. Killian, we had a chat over coffee one day, even though I don't drink coffee. We had a chat over coffee as we had Mayo Stages coming up, and I was no longer PRO, and he couldn't do the event. He couldn't, he was doing the pace notes. He was on about pace notes and stuff. So he was looking for something to do as well. So we got together and we had this mad idea about if we could interview the drivers, take the Ultimate Rally News, take Facebook Live, and kind of combine them So he had a big crew when he was doing the Ultimate Rally News, and it was a fairly big budget as such, a big budget production. So if we could go with 2 phones and no expectation and see what we could do, and the rest is history.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? And that very first day, you're about to push the button to go live. Was there a lot of nerves flying about?
Yeah, there was a lot of nerves, but I suppose I kind of, I had the little bit of Periscope Joan, I suppose, experience that. And I suppose, yeah, there definitely was nerves because we're back in Achill. We didn't have great phone coverage, the story of our lives. But yeah, those nerves about kind of, okay, I suppose at the time, everyone knew Killian. They knew him to see, and he was a face that everyone knows. And people didn't really know me because a lot of the work I had done had been behind the scenes. And, I would write the articles or whatever it was, or any kind of PRO work. They may have known the name, but they didn't know my face. So even getting them to stop, this is before we didn't have media babes. We were just at the end of the stage, waving people down. And yeah, it was nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. And, can you believe how it's developed since then?
Honest answer? No, I can't. And every event, that's it, I always say to Killian that we're as good as our last event, and yeah, can I believe where it's developed? No, we've had some really fun, we've had issues with mics, and we've tried to, just that saying that every day is a school day. Well, with us, every day was a school day because we were trying stuff, trying out different mics, try to go wireless. Wouldn't work because wireless would interfere with R5s for some mad reason. The engine, they would have interference.
Whatever it is,
yeah. Our mics not plugged in properly or whatever, and the sound would come across. And then you have people commenting, "Oh, I can't hear you. Plug in your mic," or you would lose coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're as good as what the phone coverage is.
Yeah.
Now, the phone coverage, I have to say, over the last few years has been improving in different areas, but our coverage is basically dependent on, if we have phone coverage, we can bring you a lovely stream and crystal clear voice. But if we have no phone coverage, and also another big issue is the more people that are at events, we're all pulling from the same mast. Killian, he'd go and he'd be doing the pace notes, and he would stop and he'd check the locations for me, and he'd report back and say, "Oh, we've good download speed and all this stuff, our uploads, because we work off upload speed, obviously, and it's X amount of." It's X amount of size upload speed. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to the day off an event and there's thousands of people out around and they're on the ditches and they're on Snapchat or Instagram or some on Tinder or whatever it is, everyone's pulling from the same mast, we're pulling off as well. So that it does that affects phone coverage sometimes,
Mm-hmm. And do you still get nervous?
Oh, 100%. I'm even nervous now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. You're always nervous. I suppose you're really nervous because as you're about to push that button, you may have everything ready, right? You may have your spiel typed out and everything's ready to go, and you have signal, and you press the button, and she's spinning, and it's not connected, and you can hear Josh Moffat coming, and you haven't got connected, and you're there going, "Oh man, come on," and the phone may freeze or whatever, and it's always in the back of your mind. Or when there's people around you, now there's more, there's big crowds at the end of the stages and stuff again, which is great. And you are just nervous because you're what will I ask? And then you're always nervous as well because someone may come to the end of the stage and they may have damage or something may have gone wrong. And, what do you say to them? What do you say to someone who may have been in the lead and may have cooked it on that stage and you're the first person they see?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to them?
Yes, it's a fine line between being condescending and being cheeky, or you don't want to be too sympathetic either, because it's not really what they need to hear either. As you say, it's a very fine line, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's your proudest moment over the last 5 years doing the job?
Proudest moment, I suppose. Proudest moments would be the amount of messages that we get from people, people for different reasons who weren't able to come to the event, because of health, because of mobility issues. Who have been, competing for years are no longer able to come out of the ditches, and they are watching at home. We get pictures that people send us, and it's just great to be able to bring them to an event, or people who are in different countries would work or whatever, and they really miss Irish rallying. And the amount of messages we get like that, and they really thank us for giving people access to Irish rallying again, or letting a daughter see her father, who's competing car number 135, that she hasn't, she was in Australia for the last 2 years or whatever it is. Like, that's pretty cool to be the person that brings that together. Like, that is pretty cool.
It makes the world so small that, as you say, somebody in Australia could be sitting watching their father, their uncle, their brother, whatever. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It gives you goosebumps.
Yeah. And then, what's been the hardest moment then that you've had to speak about then when you're online?
I suppose the hardest moment is sometimes when things go wrong, and that you're broadcasting something that there's a lot of people looking at, and if something goes wrong, if there's an accident or something, and there's a lot of people looking at you, and you're kind of, it could be a delicate situation, and what's the right way to handle it, what to say, even down to things like sometimes I'm at the end of the stage and there could be someone with a radio, and you need to make sure that the information doesn't come across online, or that I don't show something that could be, like that. Like, you don't want to show, again, if someone's in an accident and if their wife or daughter or family member is looking through my stream, like I may have seen their name pop up, because you take notice of some names that when they come through, like you might have 1,400 viewers, and you'll have a list of names, and they pop up or whatever, and something might just catch your eye. So you would be aware sometimes of who's actually looking. Like, obviously, don't see all the names, like, but you just need to be careful that you don't show something that people will go off, or and take a story from, or show something that you just need to respect what's going on. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's part of times, like, how kind of what you show, and yeah.
And like, we'll just look at, what has happened this year to date, this Josh Moffat, man, what a machine this year.
What a man. I'm actually running out. Sorry, I'm actually running out of the things. 1 second. I'm actually running out of things to say to him at the end of stages, like, but I it's fantastic, because again, it's that raw emotion that once they open the door, that I see them, or any winning driver, or any driver who's done well, not even Josh Moffat, any driver down speed, could be juniors, could be any class, but yeah, to see that emotion, and to see members of his family there at the finish line. But yeah, Josh he's unreal, isn't he?
It's brilliant and great to see. And like, Irish Rally in 2022 is in such a healthy place. And I think, personally, it's fantastic just to see. I think in a few years' time, we're going to look back and say, this really was a golden era of Irish Rally. And, we all talk about, the Fisher, McHale era, the WRCs. I really do believe in, 10 years, 15 years' time, we're going to look back and say, 2019, 2022, these years were something else.
Absolutely, and not even just what I'm reporting in on every second week. If we look at, look at the WRC, and we have drivers in all categories, Craig and Josh and William, and what this country is achieving is unbelievable. Like, and like I was saying recently to someone, it's you have kids getting involved now in rallying because we have a driver in one of the best open cars. And actually, one of my friends, he actually sent me a snapshot of his son. He was playing one of the WRC games, and he was driving Williams Fiesta, and it was purely because there was an Irish flag on it. Like, and to see things like that, like, and see what we were achieving all across the world, and see, the work that's going on in the My Rally Academy and stuff, like, and even see the likes of young people coming through, and even there at the weekend, talking to the battles in Class 2 and stuff, like, from all these young drivers, and. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's great for Irish Rally. Absolutely super.
Andy Walsh, what a fella. He's such an inspiration. Just even the fact that he was doing that the day before Birr and standing out at the end of stages all day Sunday. Cracking fella, and you just have to take your hat off to him for doing that. We've got a link to donate to Andy's cause with MS Ireland, so check that out in the the post descriptions. I know he's raised a lot of money already, and I'm sure there's been plenty of rally folk donated already. But if you haven't seen that, no, check that out and support Andy, because yeah, he deserves it. So now we've got the top two from Birr Stages Rally. Then Joe Sharp was getting the guys after the stages there. So thanks, Joe, for that.
Today, as you said there, it went very well for us from the word go, and we had a real good start to the day with a very quick time on stage one, and I suppose we just carried it on from there. And I suppose just for the last two stages there, we kept it safe enough there, but Declan hit the fastest time there on the last stage, so he got an extra point for that. But no, it's a good start for the championship, and it's a good start to the season for both championships for us. So yeah, hopefully we can keep it going. Monaghan's now the next round of the nationals, so home rally, and definitely looking forward to that too. You know, so.
Your next event now will be the Circuit of Ireland, will it be?
Yeah, the circuit's the next round for the Tarmac Championship. So yeah, it's gonna be tough going there again. All the boys are gonna be out there, so. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. That's another championship going well for us, so hopefully we can keep that going too.
Good result today, not bad. Happy to be here when I took it yesterday. Good weather suited us, but at the same time, these R5s are amazing pace, big pace. What's the next plan now? Next plan now is hopefully we're going to look to go to the Easter stages there and an R5 pole, and come back to Monaghan again. Not too sure when we're going to Monaghan yet, but hopefully this polo seem to be doing well here today in all these R5s, so hopefully we'll take the polo to Monaghan. Is it a rented polo or what? No, we bought the polo, we bought it in Timor, and done a bit of testing it there, a few little problems, but we'll get there with us. Hey, we got away well, so hey, we were happy with a couple of bits of bother with clutch problems, but it never slowed us down the stages, so happy out now, so good to get around, and Gary and them boys kind of behind us, so we're happy out. Nice to get the top two and ride again. I know, hey, it's nice to just come out here, down here, and get away as well, hey, so it's definitely enjoyable, hey, it was a hot, warm day, hey, so we couldn't be happier. Next to them was R5 as well, which is, I know, hey, I think we were 6th overall there or something, so, it is nice now to just kind of know you're around there, but back at the same time, if we could be the first two live or play that game now, we're happy enough. The next event now is? I'd say Killarney. I'd say Killarney, because we kind of were half thinking about Monaghan, but we kind of want to go to Killarney, and Monaghan's the week before and stuff, and Killarney's only half a weeks away altogether, so probably some time for them, I'd say. Yeah, so congratulations today then. Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much.
Thanks again to Joe Sharp, you know, the man with the camera, capturing there Josh Moffat, Declan Boyle, and also Kevin Eves, the top two-wheel drive from the weekend. But, you know, this Josh Moffat, man, what can we say, Adam, that hasn't already been said?
I know, 4 from 4 now in 2022. I think the only thing changing is his co-driver. It's making no difference. Yeah, so comfortable, so smooth, no dramas. Obviously going hard to keep Keith Cronin at bay at the start, and Declan Boyle as well. Once he got in the groove with the World Rally car, you know, he still wasn't taking any time off Josh. So he's found the sweet spot there. You know, no issues on each rally. They've all been different types of rallies, different parts of the country, and he's taken them all in a stride. I think that's his 3rd win in Birr in a row as well, which is a nice stat for him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's fair play to him. Like, he's right on top form, and I think as well he is picking up these wins in the national rallies, but it's given him more seat time in between the Irish Tarmac events. Mm-hmm. I guess a lot of the other Irish Tarmac guys are focusing on that championship, and Josh is doing both, and he's, you know, everything's so fresh with him. So yeah, I guess that's maybe an advantage going into the circuit again.
I think so. And, like, you know, I think confidence is a huge thing too with Josh. Even there at the weekend in the first loop, he was having trouble with the intercom. It didn't seem to get him. He didn't seem to get flustered. Yeah. I just think he just seems so confident so relaxed in the car, and that's obviously making a huge difference. And I think that's down to what you're saying there, is the seat time, that he is comfortable, that he will be able to go out the next loop and punch in times, as needed.
Yeah, he's so calm, isn't he? I suppose some Irish guys are quite laid back, but Josh is very calm, and it is nice to see him doing well, because he's got that smile on his face, and you can just tell he's enjoying it, and he's there to enjoy his rallying, but he's picking up serious wins this year, and it's wins against big competition, probably the most competitive rallies we've had for quite a long time. So he's finding his form at the toughest time, I guess, in terms of competition.
For sure. We have to speak about Keith Cronin at the weekend. Great to see him back in the Irish Tower again, and the times we've set in the polo. But it'd be great if he would come out and do a few more events closer to home.
I know. He'll be snatching the car off Daniel if he's doing any more events in Ireland. But yeah, just quality driver, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Jumps in the car for the first time, and he's next best to Josh. No bother to him at all, and as well on the Hancocks, which is a different tire for Ireland, and he was bound to be losing a bit of time with just running a different brand with obviously less miles in Ireland. So he's going to be helping that brand improve their offering for crews, and if he's going back to BRC now, I think their first round's in tarmac, so you have to think he's in with a good chance over there.
Yeah, for somebody that hasn't sat in a rally car since the Ulster, to step in and a brand new car. We all hear about the polo, the drivability of the polo, but it's like every car, getting that final 10th out of it isn't easy, and he was able to do it. What is it they say? Class is permanent, isn't it? You can't really say anything more about him than that.
Yeah, I think just from some of the video footage and even the photos, like the shape the car was in, he was pushing it on, and he seems to have that ability where if he pushes over the edge, he's that natural ability, or the natural instinct and reaction speed to keep it on the road, or let two tires touch the grass but keep it out of the hedge. It's no bother to him, and I guess people maybe wonder why he doesn't stick Pirellis on it for Birr or whatever, or Michelin's, and see what he can do against Moffat. But at the end of the day, I think Keith is one of those guys that's always talked about just the difficulties of putting together a program and the realities of rallying. And obviously with him working alongside Hancock, he's able to go and do the British Championship, and that's where he wants to be. So it's great to see him out, and it's nice to see him in a polo, a competitive car, and it's given Daniel the chance to drive it in the Tarmac Championship too. So it's a pretty good outcome all around, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 1-1 for everybody, so it really is. And then Darren Gass getting back on the podium again, fantastic to see. Desi Henry getting a few miles on before the Circuit Ireland. Probably not the day Desi wanted, but probably still good to get a few tarmac miles on the race belt.
Yeah, so he's on the Circuit of Ireland entry, and that's one closer to home for him. I'm sure he'll want to be looking for a good result. But I think it's a frustrating day maybe for Desi. He was in good pace, but he seemed to have this pop-off valve issue that a lot of guys are suffering from with the Rally 2 Fiesta. I know it seemed to hinder Divine quite a lot in the European Championship last year as well. So I don't know what the reason behind that is, or what's going on, but you'd like to think that can be sorted out in the Rally 2 car, because if it's becoming that consistent of a problem, you imagine it will put certain people off, and if they're putting a lot of energy into doing rounds, or maybe not doing all that many, and whenever they do come out in that sort of hits him, it's definitely frustrating.
For sure. And then we have to then Kevin Eves. Like we've seen his speed all year. Like, and he has a few niggles and issues and one thing or another. But where's he 6th, I think, overall to finish up. Ahead of I don't know how many R5s Rally 2 cars as well. And every clip you've seen of him, every photo you've seen of him, like sublime. I think it's probably not too strong a word, really.
Yeah, definitely. There's never been any doubt in Kevin's pace in the twin cam, but it all came together for him finally in Birr. No issues, no retirements, so he'll be a happy man. And I think he mentioned Killarney maybe. Will be the next one he's aiming for, and it'll be another big race down there. But no, there's plenty of two-wheel drive fellas going well, but Eve seemed to be the man to beat in Birr.
And like another thing we should take away from Birr weekend was, like, I think 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, all modified cars. It shows you the pace these guys is on. Like Michael Carbon and the Evo in the Class 20, like serious pace there too. And then Kieran and Black again. The two guys back at it again, hammer and tongue.
Kieran had to fight back this time. Was it a drive shaft? It was out of balance or something like that, and the noise he couldn't hear his co-driver right. But he had to fight back, and of course he got the line on at the end then that he couldn't let Jason away with another one after Mayo. So he stole second in two-wheel drive off Jason in the last stage. So it's class. Like, those guys love the battles, and they're pushing to the limit. You'll need to watch their in-cars or watch some of the clips to see that. But we're definitely lucky to see that over here.
And we have to also tip the hat to Desi Keenan. Back, and the car looks fantastic. Still running the 13-inch wheels, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It looks a wee bit strange on the small wheels, but the times are getting closer and closer.
Yep. So punching in those times, the first time back out in modifieds for quite a while, and he's not too far off that crazy pace that we've just talked about. So no, it's brilliant. Another group of or another class that was quite interesting to follow is the front wheel drive homologated and Fiestas, or Rally 4 ones, R2T Fiestas and R2 Fiestas. They were all battling between each other. Michael Boyle, Darrell Leonard, Jody McManus, and Shane Quinn were the four at the top of that, and there wasn't much between them. Again, it's nice to see that class sitting nice and competitive with guys trading stage wins and battling for the top of the class. So if those guys stick at it through the year, it'll be nice to follow them. And Ryan Caldwell as well is one we've got used to seeing, and he was on R5 in Birr, which was something different.
That's for sure. And if them boys would, I don't know what the intention is to do maybe some tarmac rounds as well. That you can mix in then like Joe Kelly into that mix. Eamon Kelly, if he comes back as well too. So fingers crossed. The Rally 4 R2 brigade, it's looking a lot more healthy than it has in the last few years.
Yeah, it's maybe been the missing piece. Amidst all the modified and top R5 guys and World Rally cars as well. So it was just something I noticed from Birr, that there's definitely just a handful of seconds between those guys all day. So it'll be great if that continues.
Absolutely. And then with the Wally Loughnan caricature forestry this weekend, something to look forward to there as well, I suppose. I call it with Jordan Hoon, and let's hear what he has to say.
It's a big step up now. Thankfully, we got the opportunity to make a deal for the Fiesta at the end of 2021, and thankfully it's got a gravel kit and it's full Irish tarmac, so it's the proper car. It's been a big change, Kevin. I'll not lie. I was pretty anxious to start the year. There's a lot of changes coming from an R2 car up to an R5 car. But the change has sort of suited us well. We've had a good test at the start of the year. We made some good changes, made the car very predictable. Sort of got a good base sort of setup that we were happy with at the start of the year, and we've been able to push on from there with the 2 events that we've done so far. One of them being the Clarny Forest Rally, the first round of the Irish Forest Championship, and then the Malcolm Wilson Rally, the first round of the BTRDA Championship. No, we've got 2 good events under us now, and looking forward to the next couple.
Yeah, and we should say, Adam Platt, AP Art Rally Team's running the car for you, and no better man. Adam, I spoke to him previously, has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the R5 Fiesta.
Oh yeah. He's a good guy now, and he's got a lot of experiences working with that car, especially that car after he ran it with Declan Boyle as well. He built it from the ground up after Declan was finished with it. So now he's got a wealth of experience with it, and he's a good guy to have on hand, especially coming from an R2 car to an R5 car. He's a lot of experience with working with them, and he's familiar with them, and he's able to get the best it is for us.
I point you in the right direction for setup and things like that. And then,
he did help with that.
You mentioned there the Malcolm Wilson stages. Then, you had a good run there, a couple of top 3 times. Could have been in probably fighting for a top 5 overall position. You had a time penalty or whatever, but I suppose it wasn't really the end result. It was seat time really that was the objective looking over there.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. The experience. I suppose there was a bit of a break between the Killarney Forest Rally and the next round, Carrick and Sure, the Woolley Lockman Rally, and it was a good opportunity to get over to do the Malcolm Wilson. Some good stages over there, and thankfully we were able to get some sponsorship gathered up to actually fund us going over there. No, it was a good event for us. As you say, we had some good times, and unfortunately we got a time penalty in the mix of it all. Sort of fell out of our control, but the times and the stages sort of counted, and if we didn't get the penalty, we would have finished within the top 5 comfortably. So no, for only a second event in the R5 car, we were quite happy with that.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to the weekend, what's your thoughts ahead of it? It's an event you've done a couple of times previously. Have you enjoyed the rally before?
Yeah, it's an event that I've started 3 times before, I only finished once, so it's a quite difficult rally. It's definitely a tough event. The stages and conditions can be quite tough and mucky. But it's a good event. There's some good stages that are fast or technical, and not looking forward to it. I've done 2 rallies in the Fiesta R5 and stepping up to an R5 car. I've no real expectations, Kevin. I just like to go down and try and get some good points for the championship.
And Patrick O'Brien's also doing the event. Another guy like yourself coming up through the ranks, wanting to prove himself. It's a good barometer for the 2 of you.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Patrick's there. I remember starting at the Killarney Forest Rally at the very start of the day. Myself and Patrick and my father, Paul, we were sitting laughing. We started together at All Track and Novas and courses, and look where we are now. We're in R5 cars in the first round of the Forest Championship. It was good. So it was. So no, Patrick will be quick, and there's other quick guys behind us there as well. Niall McCullough and Conor McCourt, and all quick men that's capable of having a good result. So if we'll be quite happy if we get to the finish, and if it's a top 3, all well and good. But I'll be quite happy with a strong finish and some good points for the second round of the championship.
Because at the end of it, you have to be realistic. It is, as you say, only your 3rd event in the car. There's no point in setting yourself up for a fall either at the same time.
No, this is it. Yeah, no, we're just trying to get ourselves comfortable with the car. At no point in the past 2 events that we've done in the car, have we find any sort of limits or anything like this. So it's if we can go down and we can find our comfortable pace from the word go, I'd be quite happy. And then we can decide to, if we can push on then, try and go for a result, then all well and good. But as I say, a result is what we're trying to achieve, and our finish is what we're trying to achieve. Sorry.
Mhm. Yeah. And then, looking ahead then beyond that, the Maiden City the stages is on then in May. It's very close to home for you, an event you want to take part in.
Yeah. It's just, well, at the minute, the focus is certainly on the Wally Lockman, and really the only focus at the minute. If we get a result there, and there's no sort of hobble at the end of that rally, we'll look forward to the Maiden City stages. It's, as you say, it's an event. It's local to us. It's in the village where I grew up and went to primary school and went to secondary school. And it'd be quite special to be to have it so close to home and compete on it. I know the Motor Club, Maiden City Motor Club, are putting on a huge effort, and with Peter Aiken there. So they're quite passionate about making it work, and hopefully it works out for them. And no doubt it will.
Yeah, and do you really have a preference, like tarmac or forestry, or you're happy in either surface?
I would prefer, if I had a preference, I would prefer to be on gravel. It's quite a special feeling. The stones beating over the bonnet and over the roof. It's and getting a few slides as well. It's quite special. But no, tarmac is brilliant too. There's the speed and sensation in tarmac, and the grip that you have in tarmac is quite special. Especially whenever you get an R5 car with so much grip anyway, it'll be even better again. But no, if I had a preference, I'd have to pick gravel.
And think that the likes of Gary Jennings there at the weekend, that was his first time in the Fiesta on a dry surface, and he was raving about the grip, and that he could be in a gear higher, going into corners, he could leave his braking so much later. Isn't that like somebody coming from a world car still trying to get their head around the R5? Just shows you the capability of these cars.
Yeah, no, this is exactly right, Kevin. Yeah, no, it's the way the car generates grip and mechanical grip. It's unbelievable. It's something I haven't got my head around just quite yet. So hopefully some more seat time on tarmac will help with that. But it's a real credit, and especially whenever you have guys like Adam Platt just looking after a car, he'll have the experience and tells and points us in the right direction for the first tarmac rally in the car. It'll be a big help as well.
It was great there to catch up with Jordan and hear his thoughts ahead of this weekend. We should also probably look back at last weekend and a couple of events that was happening over in Australia. Sean McAloon and Marion Hayes come top two-wheel drive in the Canberra Rally in their Mark II Esprit. Great result. Also, Glenn Alcorn and Johnny Charlson in the four-door Mark II. Again, top two-wheel drive. Great drive there too. And we should also mention was Max McRae and Matt Cairns, who were leading that rally until unfortunately they were put out with mechanical issues. Would have been lovely to see the McRae name won in a rally and in a Subaru too. That would have been pretty special, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Max McRae and Matt Cairns has got the ring to it, definitely. So yeah, hopefully those guys can continue their form in Australia. And when we're on the form of going through overseas results, we have to mention John Armstrong, who was busy in the Azores while Kevin and Connor were keeping the podcast busy with their brilliant chat on the Totals trip to Safari. But yeah, John had a cracking run in his Rally 3 Fiesta. Just the stage times were crazy, Kevin, weren't they?
Absolutely. We had spoke the previous week about how competitive these Rally 3 cars was, and he took it to another level again.
Yeah, he must have been listening to us.
On the second stage where he had his problems, he was on course to set, I think it was 6th fastest overall. Amongst the cream of European Rally 2 R5 cars.
He had the splits all checked out, and I think he was like either less than a second or just over a second off the pace of the eventual rally winner, who was obviously on an R5. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I think the nature of the rally, it was quite tight and twisty. Basically every corner was blind, so I imagine John's commitment to notes, and we've chatted before about how well that partnership with Brian Hoy's going now. I think it really showed there. They were, maximising their performance, and obviously the car, it's down on power and down on technology to Rally 2 cars. Okay, the average speed with it being twisty might have been a bit lower, but at the end of the day, the power still less. So yeah, I think the times had to come from somewhere, and it was that's I suppose it's unfortunate that they retired on the first day and had the Super Rally, but it didn't hold them back whenever they came out.
It didn't take away from the result. The two words that stand out to me from that was talent and trust. The trust in them two guys that had in the in their own ability of the team that they are, and in the car, and then the talent just shone through. Like, that's the cream of European talent. And this guy with probably 100 brake horsepower less, not even half the suspension trouble and one thing or another. Unbelievable, brilliant to see. Really was.
I think as well, we always chat about the guys going to junior WRC and coming back home. Like, we had Lexa Fisher and Cronin who did events in WRC and then came back home and set the bar. And obviously Devine, he came back in 2019. You could tell he had picked up a lot from his world experience. Now with Will Crichton and John, who are sort of doing the same. Will was at the races in West Cork, so yeah, it's brilliant. So their next event is Croatia in a couple of weeks' time. I'm sure we'll have some sort of preview for that. And as well, Circuit of Ireland is next weekend, so I imagine we'll have a preview on that next week, and there could be some interesting news along with the news that Declan is finally going to the polo, which he mentioned in his chat earlier.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how Declan adapts to the polo as well, isn't it? It really is, so that's definitely something to look forward to. And you're kind of alluding to there's, how do we put it, strong rumours circulating that there could be another top driver going to the polo as well before the circuit. So watch this space.
Derek McGarty as well is in a polo.
Absolutely, yeah.
For the circuit. And Brendan Comiskey is there, and obviously Fisher and Evans. It's crazy the amount that's sitting in Ireland. It's like we're the country for World Rally cars, we're the country for polos that are now out of production. So what's their fascination?
And and the car to beat is the Hyundai. And that's not pretty popular, so go figure. But more about the circuit next week. But until then, take care, speak soon, and bye.